All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TD Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. Black church said nothing. You would have thought all the pastors would have came. Nobody said nothing. Because TD Jakes over there with P. Diddy. Come on, Cat.
Things just took a shocking turn, and it feels like every hour the story gets heavier. Katt Williams is back stirring the whole internet again, but this time he didn't just call out the usual Hollywood names. He went for someone nobody expected. Katt is now claiming that Bishop TD Jakes, the globally respected pastor, speaker, and spiritual leader, was somehow connected to the same disturbing circles and so-called rituals tied to Diddy's wild lifestyle. That's not the type of accusation you can shrug off.
All these elite parties, the orgies, the satanic rituals, all of that happened to me when I was a child. I'm not talking about as an adult.
Especially when it's directed at someone with such a massive following and a spotless public image. At first it sounds too unreal to even process, a man of God linked to the kind of parties people have been accusing Diddy of hosting. But once you start lining up all the recent leaks, NDAs, insider confessions, and the long list of shocking allegations tied to those events, Katt's words don't feel as impossible as they once did. Katt has always positioned himself as the guy who refuses to play along with Hollywood's silence. He talks about the side of the industry most people stay far away from, the back rooms and conversations the public never sees. He's exposed strange behavior, odd alliances, and suspicious patterns for years, warning people to stop believing everything that glows on the screen. But this time, he don't just go after a celebrity or a producer. He went after someone viewed as a spiritual giant, and that alone sent shockwaves through social media. People online are already divided. Some are saying Katt might finally be...
Let me go to this question right here.
All people that love the truth got to be happy if the truth coming out and lies is getting exposed. That's just what time it is.
Putting into words what others have quietly discussed behind closed doors for years, that certain entertainment circles and certain church circles might not be as separate as they appear. Others think Katt crossed a major line, and that pulling TD Jakes into this conversation is completely out of pocket. The reactions are loud and nobody seems neutral. So what exactly did Katt say? What kind of proof or even clues is he pointing to?
That could happen if everything was true. All I got to do is repent sincerely from my heart.
And why would a respected pastor be anywhere near the type of environments people accuse Diddy of creating? These are the questions people are repeating everywhere right now. Now here's where the story gets dark in a way that makes even seasoned gossip watchers uncomfortable. Katt Williams didn't just throw a name in the air to get clicks. He started connecting different events, insiders, and moments that form a picture way more disturbing than regular celebrity nightlife. And one of the most chilling pieces of this puzzle involves something insiders refer to as pig nights. According to multiple people who claim to have been close to those circles, these so-called pig nights were not regular parties at all. They were described with words like chaotic, wild, and demonic.
From the age of 3 months old to 18 years old, I went through hell. All these elite parties, the orgies, the satanic rituals, the arm candy, the dropping suitcases of military grade weapons, of dropping cases with codes in them to missiles, doing clean hand jobs, basically being a kamikaze to another pimp. All of that happened to me when I was a child. I'm not talking about as an adult. All the hell that we're going through right now was everything that happened to me as a child, not as an adult. Not being able to have children of my own, that's what happened as a child, not as an adult. That's what I'm paying for as an adult. What's wrong with my body happened as a child.
The type of atmosphere where people said the energy felt off, the behavior was extreme, and the whole event felt like something that wasn't meant to be seen by outsiders. And if Katt is claiming that powerful names were even loosely connected to scenes like that, it's no wonder the internet exploded the way it did. Behind closed doors, that's the name people use, even though employees were reportedly warned never to say it out loud. And now people are claiming that Jakes is scrambling to erase any trace of his connection to those circles because allegedly his name keeps coming up in the middle of everything. One woman who used to work at these hidden events, Allison Carter, finally spoke up, and what she described has people genuinely disturbed. Allison didn't sugarcoat anything. She talked about how certain performers, grown adults hired for entertainment, were allegedly treated in ways that were humiliating, degrading, and completely inappropriate. She said the whole setup wasn't fun, wasn't glamorous, and wasn't anything close to a party vibe. According to her, what she witnessed felt like twisted rituals disguised as nightlife, and she admitted she's still carrying emotional damage from those nights.
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she.
That alone shook the internet because it's rare for insiders to expose those details with that much emotion. And then things got even darker when Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, stepped into the conversation. Gene didn't just confirm a few small details, he backed up several claims and said there were spiritual practices happening behind the scenes that had nothing to do with entertainment. He described situations involving the sacrifice of animals and people covering themselves in the blood during what insiders now refer to as ritual ceremonies. Katt Williams highlighted that this goes way beyond Hollywood being wild. He straight up called it satanic. What's crazy is how the public responded. Allison Carter recently uploaded a powerful video where she was visibly emotional, calling out the internet for turning all these allegations into memes and jokes instead of paying attention to the people who were actually affected. She explained that too many people are laughing about so-called freak-off parties, while real individuals are still dealing with the mental and emotional scars of what happened.
People can't fathom. My mom tells me all the time, because I'm like, Mom, what the hell is wrong with people? People are painful. And she's like, but wait a minute though. Even on my worst day, I can't fathom the type of stuff that you went through. I wouldn't be able to think of that stuff.
Her message was sharp. These events weren't accidents. They weren't parties gone too far. They were organized rituals designed for power, influence, and control. And according to Katt, this is where someone like TD Jakes enters the picture. He claims that major names from both the entertainment world and religious circles weren't just aware of what was happening, they were allegedly seen at some of these gatherings. That's why the internet is in shock, because if there's even a grain of truth there, then this situation isn't just about Diddy, it's about a whole network of powerful people hiding behind fame, money, and even faith. After Allison's emotional video spread everywhere, people started digging into her past posts and realized this wasn't the first time she tried to warn the public. A few months ago, she had already dropped hints about the true nature of Diddy's infamous pig nights, but back then, nobody took her seriously. Now that everything is coming out at once, people are connecting dots they ignored before. At first, people didn't take Allison seriously. Most folks shrugged it off like it was just more internet noise. But when she came back with even more details, clearer than before, everything suddenly started clicking together. She explained that anyone stepping foot into those events had to sign tough NDAs, no exceptions. So celebrities, influencers, staff, models, everybody had to agree to stay silent or face serious consequences. And the crazy part is, the whole setup didn't even start with Diddy. Pig nights were already a known concept way back during the Playboy Mansion era. There was a 2022 documentary called Secrets of Playboy, where Hefner's former girlfriend Sandra Theodore described his own version of pig night. She said the parties were unsettling and downright degrading. According to her, Hefner would sit at the head of the table, calmly smoking his pipe, while groups of young women brought in from Sunset Boulevard were put on display in front of wealthy guests. Staff weren't allowed to say the word pig, but that's exactly what the men running the scene would say behind closed doors. It was dehumanizing, ritualistic, and emotionally damaging. Now, insiders claim that when Diddy adopted the same twisted concept, he didn't just continue it, he made it even darker. Allison said Diddy took everything to a more extreme level, adding rules and behaviors that shocked even people who thought they'd seen everything in Hollywood. Guests were allegedly stripped of any control, forced to obey disturbing rules, and pushed into situations that sounded nothing like a party and everything like a ritual. According to Allison, people weren't even allowed to eat during the events. Diddy's circle wanted to make sure nobody threw up from what they were being forced to witness or participate in, and that's when she dropped the most disturbing part. She said some powerful men at these gatherings had twisted preferences and would make others perform embarrassing, degrading acts just to entertain them. The way she described it didn't sound like wild nightlife or celebrity chaos. It sounded calculated, controlled, and designed to break people down. She made it clear that this wasn't just Hollywood being Hollywood. This was something way more chilling, something that left people emotionally scarred long after the night ended. What Allison described didn't sound like parties. It sounded like something structured, controlled, and meant to break people down. These gatherings felt like organized rituals built around domination and power. And that's exactly what Katt Williams has been warning the public about for years. He keeps saying that people mistake these exclusive Hollywood events for glamorous VIP nights, when in reality some of them carry a spiritual price tag that most folks never see. According to Katt, figures like TD Jakes weren't just standing on the sidelines either. He claimed that certain individuals, both in entertainment and in faith communities, benefited from the same hidden system. That's why people online are suddenly asking deeper questions. Because if Allison's story lines up with what Katt has been hinting at,
and watching an episode called Pig Night, when I went, they tried to feed us, and I remember it because when you have to do orders, jobs like that, you don't eat. You're not allowed to eat. You actually have to like starve yourself, because this is about to get a little bit dark. So if you got a faint stomach, or if you just can't be doing it right now, just go. Don't even try to. It's a lot. It's about to get a lot. So just, here's your time. Exit. When you have to do those type of jobs, you can't eat because you will throw up. If you are doing anal, or if you are a guy doing anal, you will shit everywhere. When this happens, your pimps will get mad at you. Really mad at you. And if that is a fetish for someone, they use that to their advantage. So if you throw up on someone, you will have to eat it. If you shit on someone, you will have to lay in it. Have in it, stay in it. So when they tried to feed us, I already knew not to eat, because I'm always told, like, at the end of a job, I was really happy if my pimp would give me grapes, because that was like a big thing of mine. I loved grapes when I was a teenager. I don't really love grapes that much now. They're still alright, but texture issues. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, so I knew, okay, we're not gonna eat. Like, I don't know what this is for. I was told don't eat the food. Okay, fine. I thought it was because it was a different source of drugs.
Then this goes way beyond a celebrity scandal. It sounds like a full exposure of a dangerous network that's been operating right in front of everyone. Once Allison Carter's revelations started circulating, the internet exploded, and that's when Katt Williams' comments added another layer of shock by pulling Bishop TD Jakes into the conversation again. Katt suggested that major names from both Hollywood and the religious world have been attached to the same networks that protect Diddy and others accused of disturbing behavior. He didn't claim to have proof that Jakes participated in anything, but he did question how someone with Jake's power and access could stay so close to celebrity circles without noticing the darker side of things. That one comment was enough to send social media flying into detective mode. People started digging through old clips, photos, and event footage showing Jakes at music industry functions. Folks online began asking whether his presence was innocent networking or something more calculated. Others defended him, saying that Katt was pointing out a systemic issue, not accusing Jakes of involvement, but highlighting how spiritual leaders can get tangled up with Hollywood power players in ways that raise eyebrows. The conversation quickly grew into a much bigger topic. How much do public figures, pastors, influencers, celebrities actually see behind the scenes? And if they do know more than they let on, how far would they go to stay inside those exclusive circles of fame, money, and influence. Then things moved from shocking to unbelievable. As Allison's post spread, more people began bringing back old interviews, documentaries, and insider confessions that hinted at even darker rumors around Diddy's private life. Some of his former staff members and bodyguards said that certain gatherings didn't feel like regular parties at all. They had a strange ritual-like atmosphere that left people unsettled. They described moments where the energy in the room felt off, like something deeper was happening behind all the fame and flashing lights. One former bodyguard even claimed that Diddy once met with a mysterious man in Central Park right before an important court date, calling it a spiritual cleansing or some kind of protection ritual. Whether that story was symbolic or literal, it shook viewers because the details didn't sound like normal celebrity behavior. They sounded like something deeper was being prepared behind the scenes. When that clip resurfaced, the internet went into full investigation mode. People started pulling old interviews, rumors, and blind items together, connecting everything from pig night whispers to those strict NDAs everyone had to sign. Suddenly, social media was filled with threads talking about hidden tunnels, private invite systems, coded signals, and layers of secrecy used to keep certain events away from the public eye. None of it has been confirmed, but it definitely added fuel to conversations about how fame, money, and silence.
Playboy has I forgot what I was gonna say. Contracts. Non-disclosure contracts, where sometimes like there are celebrities that are a constant visit. And when they're a constant visit, these celebrities have a contract with the Playboy. Depending on what location they're at, either way it goes, but especially when they're a known celebrity, they have contracts. So it kind of keeps them safe. If there's a Playboy bunny that leaves, they're not allowed to tell who they had sex with, who was there, who was a frequent bunny, who was a member, or frequent John, who was a member. You're not allowed to. Technically, when you work at the Playboy, when you work there, when you are on an intake and you work and you have a room at the Playboy, it is treated as if you have a contract, and you can't talk about those things. So for me, I didn't have that contract. I was brought in.
Can intertwine in the entertainment world, and that's why Katt Williams' comments about TD Jakes landed so hard. He never said Jakes committed any crimes. He questioned why a spiritual leader would be so close to Hollywood elites who face serious accusations. That alone sparked huge debates about whether faith and celebrity culture can mix without somebody's morals getting tested. Some people argue that influence has become its own form of currency, and the closer you get to powerful people, the murkier the lines become. What's clear is that the internet isn't letting this conversation disappear. Viewers are demanding transparency, accountability, and real answers, and until someone steps forward with solid proof or an official investigation happens, people will keep speculating about what really goes on behind those closed doors. And honestly, for a lot of folks, none of this feels surprising anymore, because TD Jakes has been seen in Diddy's social circles for years, and that connection isn't exactly a secret. They've been photographed together at award shows, charity events, celebrity gatherings, and private functions. Their friendship has been public for a long time, and people online are now revisiting those older photos with a different eye. Commentators are saying that when you see someone like Jakes consistently appearing alongside Diddy, it naturally raises questions about how connected their worlds really are. Again, nobody is accusing him of anything. This is about patterns, proximity, and the company powerful people keep. Katt Williams hinted at the same point when he talked about how people inside these networks, whether they're entertainers or spiritual leaders, can't always pretend they don't know anything about what happens around them. So when viewers look at the allegations around pig nights and all the other rumors floating around, they see a bigger picture forming. They're noticing how Hollywood influence and faith sometimes cross paths in ways that make people uncomfortable. And seeing Jake show up repeatedly at the same events as Diddy is making many wonder how much of these inner circles are built on simple social friendship, and how much might be rooted in deeper networks of power, access, and influence. And the reason people are even talking about all this is because multiple insiders have spoken up about TD Jakes and his connection to Diddy. One of the loudest voices in this conversation is someone who actually lived through the chaos, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal. Gene knows the industry from the inside, and the way he talks about the relationship between Diddy and Jakes makes it clear this wasn't just about Sunday sermons or spiritual mentorship. According to him, there were things happening behind the curtain that couldn't stay hidden forever, and Gene isn't some random person trying to ride a trend. He spent decades in the heart of celebrity culture, East Coast versus West Coast beefs, powerful alliances, backroom deals, and private events regular people never hear about. He's watched celebrities rise, fall, and get protected by the same networks over and over again. When he connects dots, people pay attention because he was actually there. Diddy wasn't just a successful mogul, he was strategic, charismatic, and in some ways intimidating. He knew how to make people loyal, whether through money, opportunities, or pure influence. Some folks stuck around because they wanted a career lift, others because they enjoyed the lifestyle, and a few stayed because they felt he had enough leverage to make their lives difficult if they walked away. And that brings TD Jakes back into the spotlight. His presence around Diddy wasn't just casual or spiritual. Over the years, footage and photos have placed him in environments that didn't look like typical ministry gatherings at all. He wasn't just showing up to give a prayer or offer guidance. He was seen right in the middle of high-profile events where Diddy was the main attraction. Now, whether that means friendship, networking, or something deeper, one thing is clear. Their connection went beyond what most people would expect between a pastor and a music mogul, and that's why folks are talking, because it wasn't just Diddy giving Jakes access. He gave him reach, visibility, and a type of influence that most people outside entertainment never get close to. And according to multiple insiders, Jakes didn't shy away from that. He welcomed it. For someone who preaches about morality, accountability, and spiritual growth every Sunday, being consistently seen in these elite circles has people raising their eyebrows. Viewers online have started asking the same question over and over again. Why was a respected pastor so deeply connected to someone with Diddy's reputation long before the allegations even came out? Balancing the world of high-stakes celebrity with the moral authority of a megachurch pastor isn't easy. And according to insiders, this wasn't even an attempt at balance. They say this wasn't casual friendship or harmless networking. This was alignment. Jakes wasn't just popping into events out of curiosity or showing up out of respect. He was positioning himself right inside Diddy's circle, where fame, power, and money were constantly moving. Observers argue that by standing in those rooms, Jakes gained something most church leaders never even get near: a seat at Hollywood's private table. And if being in that circle meant keeping quiet when things got uncomfortable, or staying present while people around him acted wild, insiders say that's exactly how it played out. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, hinted at this same dynamic. He said being close to someone like Diddy is not something you can do without feeling the heat. If you're in those rooms, surrounded by top celebrities, late night parties, and behavior most people would consider extreme, then you're aware of the energy. Deal said that just having someone like Jakes show up in those environments speaks volumes, whether people want to admit it or not.
It's a lot to process that they were called pigs. You can feed a pig anything, pigs will eat shit. My pig, I had a pig. I love my pig. She's really smart. So pigs are smart. And it was stupid because it's treating it as you can do whatever you want to the pigs. It's just pigs. Processing that as an adult, I'm trying to deal with it.
And the influence between the two went both ways. Diddy didn't just give Jakes a seat at the table, he gave him reach, money, access, visibility, and the kind of cultural relevance that goes way beyond a Sunday sermon. He opened doors most pastors never get to touch, putting Jakes in front of Hollywood power players, placing him at high-profile events, and giving him exposure on platforms that boost influence overnight. In return, insiders claim Jakes brought something that mattered just as much: his name, his presence, and possibly his silence. People in Hollywood know that being seen next to a respected pastor adds legitimacy. It makes the room look safer, more respectable, and that kind of image boost is priceless. Critics online point out that this kind of alignment isn't new at all. History is full of spiritual leaders who get close to powerful people for influence, status, or opportunities. But in this situation, the closeness to Diddy, combined with all the rumors and insider stories connected to events like Pig Nights, raises uncomfortable questions, not about proven actions, but about the optics of influence, silence, and decision-making. When someone stands in those spaces where wealth, fame, and secrecy collide, people naturally wonder what they see, what they ignore, and what they choose to stay silent about. At the end of the day, insiders say Jakes wasn't clueless or unaware. He knew exactly what it meant to stand in those rooms. He understood the stakes, the image, and the power that came with being close to someone like Diddy. And for commentators watching everything unfold, the relationship between Diddy and Jakes highlights a bigger conversation. What happens when faith and celebrity collide? Because when those worlds overlap, the lines between spiritual authority, personal ambition, and cultural influence can get blurry fast, leaving people everywhere asking questions nobody wants to answer. For years, people noticed how close Diddy and TD Jakes really were. They didn't look like two men who just bumped into each other at a couple of industry shows. These two showed up together constantly. Photos, interviews, red carpets, conferences, they were side by side like longtime brothers who shared a bond deeper than simple friendship. You'd catch them hugging, laughing, praying together in public, moving like they walked through every chapter of life right next to each other. But even from the outside, something about that connection felt different. This wasn't the usual pastor-celebrity relationship. This had a weight to it that made people stop and really pay attention. Because when a megachurch pastor starts moving that comfortably in the same rooms as one of hip-hop's most controversial moguls, the questions are guaranteed to follow. Folks wondered what brought them together so tightly and why their circles blended so effortlessly. Then things became even clearer in 2021. That's when Jakes made a move nobody expected. He took his sermons and actually brought them onto Revolt TV. Yes, Revolt TV, the network owned by Diddy, a channel known for music culture, celebrity interviews, and bold conversations. Not exactly the place people expect to hear Sunday preaching. The decision shocked a lot of viewers. Why would a spiritual leader bring his ministry onto a platform so deeply rooted in entertainment, especially one led by a figure with Diddy's complicated public reputation? At the time, Jakes played it off as a strategy to reach new audiences, to spread the message into circles that normally wouldn't step inside a church. But now that everything is resurfacing, people are wondering if that move was just business it is to nowhere, or if it locked the two men into a deeper alignment than anyone noticed back then. And now look at the timing. Diddy recently sold off the last of his stake in Revolt Media, walking away completely from the company he built. And that exit happened right after lawsuits and investigations started closing in around him. The whole thing felt like someone trying to cut ties and fade out before the pressure got worse. And that's where TD Jakes' name suddenly reappeared. Because once Diddy became the center of every headline, lawsuits, accusations, investigations, people started revisiting the names connected to him. And Jakes' name showed up over and over again. The internet didn't even have to dig that hard. The photos, the events, the collaborations, the appearances, they were all already there. So now with everything happening at once, people are asking the question Jakes hoped he'd never face. How close was he truly to Diddy? And what did he really see while standing next to him all those years? People aren't talking about TD Jakes now because he's been accused of the same behavior as Diddy. Nobody said that. What's bringing his name back into the spotlight is the simple fact that people remember how close they were. They remember the photos, the videos, the interviews, the hugs, the events, and the internet never forgets. Now Jakes looks like he's in full damage control mode. He's posting, speaking publicly, shutting down rumors, and insisting that people are trying to drag him into something he has nothing to do with. But the tone of his statements feels defensive, almost like someone trying to rewrite the story before the world writes it for him. And here's the reality, once your name gets tied to someone like Diddy, even by proximity, it becomes incredibly hard to shake off. So now people are asking serious questions. Was Jakes simply acting as a spiritual advisor caught in the middle of a celebrity storm? Or was he standing a little closer to that lifestyle, that circle, and that power than anybody realized? Because when you start connecting the dots, the Pig Night rumors, the talk about secret gatherings, the stories from insiders about disturbing rituals, it all starts forming a pattern. And honestly, it's unsettling. These weren't random Hollywood whispers, they were puzzle pieces that fit into a bigger picture. A picture drawn from power, secrecy, and influence. Katt Williams was one of the first to call it out openly. He didn't water down his words. He said exactly what others were too scared to mention, that there's a dark side to fame, one that feeds off humiliation and secrecy. And once Katt mentioned names like Diddy and TD Jakes in the same breath, the internet went wild. because nobody expects a pastor to be anywhere near something so messy, and people online have been pointing that out nonstop. One user on X commented, "What was TD Jakes doing at Diddy parties?" Another posted a personal statement saying, "A very close friend of mine worked for Jakes' ministry for a short time years ago and told me directly that Jakes is a homosexual and has engaged in S***T for a long time. I have no reason not to believe my friend, but the more you look at it, the more it tracks." Now, those are personal claims from individuals online, not proven facts, but the internet doesn't separate rumor from reality when the timing is already suspicious. People aren't reacting to accusations, they're reacting to optics, because Diddy's events weren't just about music or celebrity culture. According to insiders, they were about control, dominance, and ritual-like behavior that pushed boundaries. And the question people keep asking is simple. Why was Jakes, a man known for preaching morality every Sunday, showing up in the same spaces over and over again? People can argue that maybe he was ministering, maybe he was trying to bring faith into dark environments, maybe he had good intentions, but others are saying, how many times can you step into the same darkness before you start blending into it? And when the same pastor is photographed with the same mogul, not once, not twice, but repeatedly, it stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like involvement. That's exactly what Katt Williams was hinting at. He wasn't just dropping names for shock value, he was pulling the curtain back on a system many believe has been protected for decades, a system where religion, celebrity, money, and influence sit at the same table, making moves the public never sees. And now that Diddy's world is collapsing under lawsuits and exposure, every name that ever stood near him, especially the ones who stood close, is getting pulled into the spotlight, whether they want to be or not. Pretending to serve different masters only works for so long, and now that the lawsuits are stacking up and the pressure is closing in from every direction, you can see everyone scrambling to save their image. The whole thing feels like a system cracking open piece by piece, because the truth never stays underground forever, not when too many insiders have seen too much and stayed quiet for too long. That's why when people say some of these gatherings had a dark, almost spiritual edge to them, it doesn't sound like an exaggeration anymore. It sounds like a warning that was floating around for years, and people are finally ready to listen. So I want to know your thoughts on all this. Do you think these connections were innocent, or do you feel like there's more going on behind the scenes than anyone wanted to admit? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I post updates like this every single week, digging into the stories, scandals, and secrets behind your favorite celebrities. See you on the next one.